Hello there, good evening. Welcome to episode 8 of the Rugby Nats chat show. We're going to do things slightly differently tonight. Mike and I have been sort of looking around the game and we've got some things that we want to talk about. If you don't mind, Mike, I'm going to kick off with something that I've seen yesterday in fact, sorry. Going back over the years, do you remember the possibility for teams of getting personal insurance rather than the RFU catastrophic insurance, which is, you know, loss of a limb or something, but something a bit more usable like breaking fingers or doing your knee? Do you remember?
Absolutely, I do indeed, yeah, very much so. It's very much part of the game.
It is very much part of the game, but as a club, we used to buy a policy for 2 or 3 years as an experiment. It's very, very well received by the players, but it disappeared. I don't know if you noticed it disappearing, but I'm told, although I haven't got the exact reason, I'm told it was because it was a bit of a lost leader for the industry, and it was costing more than it was earning. But I'm really glad to see yesterday the RFU have been in with Howdens, their new insurance supplier, and it's back, and it's not unreasonable. For the season, club can buy a policy for only 868 quid a year, and what that does is it covers nominated teams in your club, so your first or your seconds or whatever, and it can pay out up to £300 a week. So if you've got a plasterer or a lorry driver, in the instance I'm thinking of, that's done his knee and he can't, self-employed driver, can't get the money, at least he's got some form of cover.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I've been asked about it several times over the last few years, and I've had to say, when players have hurt themselves, like a broken hand last year, Sam in my case, have we got any cover, please? What's the details of the club's insurance? Sorry, we're only covered for catastrophic insurance. And that is a real step in the right direction. I think that's the sort of thing that a club, no matter what level, are going to jump on. And I was thinking about it this afternoon and doing a bit of maths. And if you've got, it doesn't need to be a cost to the club, because if you're going to nominate your top 2 teams, for argument's sake, you've got a squad of 36 or 40. Dividing 866 between 40 is peanuts.
Yeah,
but,
very much so.
But the benefits could be very, very strong. So that's a real up for me this week. It's a real positive thing.
Do you think it will actually keep people in the game as well, the self-employed guys who think, well...
I know for sure that I certainly have lost a couple of players because of it. It's, I really missed the game on Saturday, Paul, but I'm sorry, I can't take the risk. In one case, I've just started a business. He's a personal trainer. And his business manager said to him, you need insurance for this. And he said, yeah, I want to carry on playing, I'm going to find insurance. I went out to go and get insurance, and it was £500. It was £2,000. It's going to cost him £500 a quarter.
Yeah.
And he's just started a business. He's not going to pay that. But he's got to put food in his mouth. He's got to pay his HP on his car and all that sort of stuff. And he left the game.
Yeah.
A very talented player. So yeah, I think it's going to have a real knock-on effect right across the game. It's peanuts, really. 868 quid. What have you been looking at this week?
Well, actually, it leads on from what you said, because the RFU, it's a very positive move again along with these lines. The RFU have been concerned about the recent report that we discussed on the show relating to injuries amongst children at school. And they've had a statistics that they've produced is that they reckon that a third of parents are worried about their children playing rugby.
Still allowing them to play, though?
Yeah, still allowing, but there's this concern, and there's this concern about staying in the game, and they're concerned about the effect that has on grassroots rugby. Now, they've come up with 1 or 2 ideas around about ensuring that the clubs have facilities which they could use, which we've discussed before, about generating money, etc. But one thing that they're taking on is that they feel, and I totally agree with this policy, that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, and they feel confident that they can win over the mothers, etc., in the game, the females in the game, to actually get involved in clubs, understand what goes on, and understands the benefits of rugby far outweigh the risks.
Get involved in what way?
Well, they've specifically identified referees and coaches. They're going for 400 female referees and 400 female coaches. Now, I think the policy, don't misunderstand me, I think the policy is brilliant, but often in these situations, the process outweighs the value of the policy and the outcome. So I think they need to be careful that while they might strive for these targets, and these targets are important, I also believe that they've got to be realistic, that the referees that they get into the game stay in the game and operate at the appropriate level, and conversely the coaches, they don't just go on a couple of courses, get an award and then drift away. You know, we've got to keep them in the game. But the other point I would identify, which certainly this article didn't, was that, you know, I think clubs have also got to look at women in the committee rooms. Occupying positions of importance, of influence, the chairman of the club, the president, secretary, treasurer, all of these roles, so that they understand where the club's coming from and they understand the game in particular. I'm moving on from the female aspect, actually. Next, across from that article was a one written by Austin Healey.
Didn't have any strong opinions in it, did it?
He did. Well, he had one or two strong opinions, namely that he's got four children, or girls, and he maintains that they lose out on coaching in any sport. That the women's sport just doesn't have the influence of boys participating in games, and he feels that is reflected in the coaching. The boys get the best coaches, get the best facilities, etc.
I think he'll get a lot of support for that from the ladies in our game, certainly.
I think it's a little, from a school perspective, I think that's unfair. I think that within PE departments there are mixed games nowadays, and I don't think there's that differentiation at all. Okay, I can understand, you know, perhaps the first 15 rugby team get the attention perhaps of the best coaches there, but that's not something I would agree with. I actually agree with Austin Healey in this instance. I think the important age group really is the sort of 11 to 13 or 14 where you should have your best coaches, and I think that's something he's expressed here, but also he'd like to see that happening with girls as well, especially in clubs. He feels that the girls section in the club is neglected. It's just willing volunteers with very little experience, you know, taking control of the girls. Now, I've got limited experience on this, but what I do know, certainly about the boys' game, is that I think that we do not direct our best coaches to the ages where it's most needed. That sort of 11 to 14 bracket.
He's plainly had a very bad experience because I know I can speak for my own club, but I think I can speak for Berkshire as well. The young girls section, the 13s, 15s and 18s, is quite embryonic, certainly at my club, and not that old in Berkshire. And I think the counter view has been put into place in that when they've been out looking for coaches for these young girls, they've actually been looking for decent coaches, qualified, decent coaches, because they want the experience to be good, and they want them to come back next week. And certainly in this county, I wouldn't say that we've got anybody sort of like as a willing volunteer drawing breath. Therefore, you can coach the girls. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I think he's gone overboard. I think he's sort of generalised about.
Unless he's had a really bad experience.
Well, he said his local club. He identified his local club.
Oh, and then really, Berkshire now,
no, I don't think so. And then he incorporates all clubs, I think, and the same with the schools. But I think it is quite a good idea in terms of focusing on that age group, boys or girls. And he also brings up the old argument about, you know, should we really be basing rugby up to the age of about 14/15 on age? Should we be doing it by weight?
Like in the Southern Hemisphere?
Absolutely. And this is something else he would like to see happening, and also gender, you know, say from 10 to 13, it's mixed girls and boys, but all based on weight. So I think they're positive ideas. As I said, a little generalisation, but overall, I thought it was a thought-provoking piece and a thought-provoking argument.
I've thought about the basing it on weight several times over the years, and I keep on changing my mind. But recently, with that article from Professor Pollock and various other discussions that have been happening recently, I've actually come back to thinking about the weight thing again, because if you've got a lump and a non-lump coming into contact with each other, there's probably only going to be one unfortunate result.
There is,
but if you are fairly evenly matched,
I think if you have that coaching though at an early stage, so they're
technically correct,
they coach the correct techniques, especially in contact, I think you can alleviate that problem. But I tell you what, we'd be very interested in your views on that as regards the grassroots game, keeping people in it, and also about the coaching of rugby to youngsters. Look forward to any comments.
Cheers.